Okay, last week we were talking about the direction that we should be looking for to follow on the noble path. So, of course, finding our own path, either the Mahayana or Theravada or Vajrayana tradition according to your inclination. So, like for me, I'm still very Mahayana in my heart, although external form, I'm wearing the Theravada robe, which is actually what the Buddha was wearing in his time. So external forms are not important, but internal, whether it's Mahayana or Theravada or Vajrayana, as I was mentioning, we should actually be very clear of what our teacher has taught us. That's referring to Lord Buddha. And for him, he always says that when he passes away, the Dhamma and the Vinaya are our teachers. So, of course, the goal is the same. Perhaps the journey may be a little bit diversified according to cultures of the country. So it doesn't matter which tradition we follow, as long as we know that we are heading towards the correct direction. Okay, so that was what we were talking about last week. So of course, after hearing so many discourses on noble truths, dependent origination, Eightfold Path, and all those things, I'm not going to repeat all those things. I'm quite sure you all have repeatedly heard about all those teachings. Now, I'm pretty sure that what I'm going to introduce tonight as a sutta may not be so commonly introduced, because usually we talk about the Noble Eightfold Path, but rarely do I hear any teachers talk about how one should walk to complete the Noble Eightfold Path. So I managed to find this sutta, which is actually found in let me see. It is found in Anguttara Nikaya 8.3. Okay, it is called Anuruddha Sutta. So of course, Anuruddha was one of Lord Buddha's very famous disciples. He was an arahant, and he actually lived up to 150 years old during the time that he was with Buddha. He passed away much more later after Lord Buddha, after 150 years old. Okay, and he was one of the very popular ones who actually has a very good practice. And of course, one of the sutras that we used to hear about him is the Gosinga Sutta. Let me see whether I pronounce it correctly. I'm really struggling with some Pali words a lot of times, because probably because I was trained in Taiwan with all the Chinese background, which I'm also not good in. Okay, let me see. Yeah, Kosinga Sutta. Yeah. So the popular sutta talks about how Anuruddha and the other two venerables, Nandiya and Kimbala, were living in the Kosinga Sala tree forest, and how Buddha visited them, and how Buddha actually asked them how they were practicing and all that. So they were actually talking about how they were living together with respect for each other, and how they were living like milk and water. Yeah. So that is, if we can actually blend in like milk and water, it means that we are living very peacefully and harmoniously with one another. So Anuruddha Sutta, this one, Anguttara Nikaya 8.3, this one talks about how one is able to complete the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, I'm going to, as usual, most of us prefer to refer to the suttas when we are actually teaching, so that you all can be sure that this is not something that has been, created by us, but rather it's a teaching from the suttas, which is from Lord Buddha. And also, while we are going through, we hope that we can actually try to relate some live examples, for better understanding. So it is actually quite a long sutta. I may here and there just skip over some, but I explain the main points as I go along. Okay, so this is the Anuruddha Sutta. So once the Blessed Ones were staying among the Bhagas in the deer park at Vesikala Forest near the crocodile hunt. And at that time, Venerable Anuruddha was living among the Chetis in the Eastern Bamboo Park. Then, as he was alone in seclusion, this line of thinking arose in Venerable Anuruddha's awareness. So this was what arose in his mind. This Dhamma is for one who is modest, not for one who is self-aggrandizing. This Dhamma is for one who is content, not for one who is discontent. This Dhamma is for one who is reclusive, not for one who is entangled. This Dhamma is for one whose persistence is aroused, not for one who is lazy. This Dhamma is for one whose mindfulness is established, not for one whose mindfulness is confused. This Dhamma is for one whose mind is concentrated, not for one whose mind is unconcentrated. Here, of course, the word concentrated and unconcentrated means either focus or not focus, okay, not scattered. This Dhamma is for one endowed with discernment, not for one whose discernment is weak. So, of course, again, the word discernment means looking at things with wisdom and not through likes and dislikes and not through emotions. Okay, so this was what arose in Venerable Anuruddha's mind when he was in seclusion in the forest. So again, the word seclusion is always mentioned in the sutta. So the Buddha always encouraged his disciples, whether you are monastic or whether you're a lay person, seclusion in a proper place is very much indeed helpful for us to look inwards, especially when we want to go into deep meditation. Okay, so then the Blessed One, realizing with his awareness the line of thinking in Venerable Anuruddha's awareness, just as a strong man might extend his flexed arm or flex his extended arm, disappeared from among the bagas in the deer park at Brisakala forest near the crocodile haunt, and reappeared among the chetties in the eastern bamboo park right in front of Venerable Anuruddha. There he sat down on a prepared seat. As for Venerable Anuruddha, having bowed down to the Blessed One, he sat to one side. So the Buddha usually teaches us as his monastic disciples, even during his time to his disciples, not to actually practice psychic power or perform miracles, because this is not the way of practice, nor the way of showing others our attainments or whatever. But once in a while in the suttas, you may come across things like what has just been mentioned, that the Buddha will just, with his divine knowledge, he knows who is ready for further guidance and who is ready for enlightenment. He will just perform some kind of psychic power to appear before the person, just as in the Angulimala Sutta, he also appeared to Angulimala and also using his psychic power to let Angulimala realize what is happening before he actually dwell into the teachings, and to influence Angulimala to realize that he is doing something wrong and he needs to stop. So likewise here, Lord Buddha has again used the psychic power to, usually what is the stock phrase in the teachings is that just as a strong man might extend his flexed arm and flex his extended arm, right? So that was like almost immediate. He actually disappeared from one place and reappeared right in front of the Venerable Anuruddha. All right. So these are things that probably once in a while we'll read about, but not to be encouraged, as the Buddha has always told his disciples. All right. Not to be encouraged. So to continue, as he was sitting there, the Blessed One said to him, "Good Anuruddha, very good. It's good that you think these thoughts of a great person." So the Lord Buddha repeated the line of thoughts that arose in Anuruddha's mind at that time. I won't go into that. All right. So the Buddha further continued that, "Now then, Anuruddha, think the 8 thoughts of a great person. This Dhamma is for one who enjoys non-objectification, etc., 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 etc. Okay, the 8 thoughts that arose in the mind of Anuruddha. Okay, so the Buddha further mentioned, Anuruddha, when you think these 8 thoughts of a great person, then whenever you want, quite secluded from sensuality, secluded from unskillful qualities, you will enter and remain in the first jhana. Okay, so of course the Lord Buddha describes the first jhana as something which comes with rapture and pleasure, born of seclusion, accompanied by directed thoughts and evaluation. And when you think these 8 thoughts of a great person, then whenever you want, with the stealing of directed thoughts and evaluations, you will enter and remain in the second jhana. And he continues to describe the course, the slow process of how one can enter from first jhana to second jhana to third jhana to the fourth jhana. Okay, and of course, this is how the Buddha says a person who has this kind of 8 qualities in the mind is very likely to be able to abide in those 4 jhanas. All right, I'm just summarizing this whole part of the sutta because it's quite long. So the Buddha further continues, now when you think these 8 thoughts of a great person and become a person who can attain at will, without trouble or difficulty, these 4 jhanas, heightened mental states providing a pleasant abiding in the here and now, then your robe of cast-off rags will seem to you to be just like the clothes chest of a householder or householder's son, full of clothes of many colors. As you live contented, you will serve for your delight, for a comfortable abiding, for non-agitation, and for alighting and unbinding. So the Buddha was saying that if any one of us can actually have this mental states of these 8 qualities in our mind of a great person, then he refers to what he always inform us of as his what they call left home people, 出家人, the renunciants, right? That the 4 requisites that we always receive, okay, 4 requisites, meaning our robes, our dwellings, our food, alms food, and our medicine. These 4 are the 4 requisites that a monastic would have to depend on, all right, in order to practice in a simple and frugal manner and without too much desires. Yeah. So the Buddha was mentioning that because of this mental state of a great person, all right, the Buddha says that we will all live contented and will serve for our delight, a comfortable abiding, non-agitation, and also to be awakened. All right, alighting on unbinding means towards awakening. So now then, Anuruddha, you are to stay right here among the churches for the coming rains retreat. That was what Lord Buddha persuade, or rather encourage Anuruddha to stay in that rainforest, in that forest for the rains retreat, which is what we are going to experience soon. The Vasa is starting on 2nd of August. The full moon day, the new moon day is on 1st of August, and 2nd of August is our entry into the rains retreat for this year. The 3 months rains retreat for us starts on 2nd of August. So here, Lord Buddha was actually encouraging Anuruddha to please stay in this forest in Chetis for the coming rains retreat. And of course, Venerable Anuruddha, who, being very obedient, responded to him saying, yes, as you say, Venerable Sir. Okay, so then having given this exhortation to Venerable Anuruddha, the Blessed One disappeared from the eastern bamboo park, and then he reappeared in the Besakala forest near the crocodile hunt. Right. So when Lord Buddha went back to where his other monks were, he actually was telling them about what was happening. And then he said that, monks, I will teach you the 8 thoughts of a great person. So after speaking to Venerable Anuruddha in the Chettis forest, he actually, Lord Buddha actually went back to his monastics, right? And that was in the Deer Park, okay, in Basakala forest. And he was actually telling the monks that he is going to teach them the 8 thoughts of a great person. Okay, so usually the Buddha will say, please listen and pay close attention, I will speak. Okay, so of course the monks reply, yes, Lord Buddha. Yeah. So the Buddha again repeated what Venerable Anuruddha was telling him. What are the 8 thoughts of a great person? I'll repeat one more time. This Dhamma is for one who is modest, not for one who is self-aggrandizing. This Dhamma is for one who is content, not for one who is discontent. This Dhamma is for one who is reclusive, not for one who is entangled. This Dhamma is for one whose persistence is aroused, not for one who is lazy. This Dhamma is for one whose mindfulness is established, not for one whose mindfulness is confused. This Dhamma is for one whose mind is concentrated, not for one whose mind is unconcentrated. This Dhamma is for one endowed with discernment, not for one whose discernment is weak. And this Dhamma is for one who enjoys non-objectification, one who delights in non-objectification, not for one who enjoys and delights in objectification. Okay, so after the Buddha has listed these 8 qualities, then he actually went into detail to explain one by one. So I'm going to go into this detail now. This Dhamma is for one who is not self-aggrandizing. Okay, now it was said, with reference to what was this said? So the Buddha continues, there is the case where a monk, being modest, does not want it to be known that he is modest. Being content, he does not want it to be known that he is content. Being reclusive, he does not want it to be known that he is reclusive. His persistence being aroused, he does not want it to be known that his persistence is aroused. His mindfulness being established, he does not want it to be known that his mindfulness is established. His mind being concentrated, he does not want it to be known that his mind is concentrated. Being endowed with discernment, he does not want it to be known that he is endowed with discernment. And enjoying non-objectification, he does not want to be known that he is enjoying non-objectification. This Dhamma is for one who is modest, and etc., right? Until one who is not enjoying objectification. So this was what the Buddha mentioned to the monks. Okay, now to summarize the whole thing, the whole teaching here, this is what our own teachers usually will refer to us, that when we are practicing, we have to practice in such a way that people do not know we are practicing. Now, it is a very common inclination of people to sort of like show off to people, to want to give people an impression that we are practicing well. I have more purity in me. I'm pure. I am actually very knowledgeable in the suttas. I can chant well. I can teach well, blah, 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 right? All these things. These are the very natural inclination that many of us, whom the Lord Buddha says with untrained mind, would probably want to impress others. But our teachers always remind us that if we are practicing, we have to be very humble. And as the Buddha has mentioned, to be modest. We do not wish to impress others that we are practicing. We don't need to, actually. It doesn't really do us any good for us to be what the Buddha would call self-aggrandizing. which is actually showing off. Okay. And also the other thing is that it is also not for us, especially for us monastics, okay, to be blowing our trumpets about what we have achieved, how learned we are, what kind of meditation we have achieved, and all those things. It's actually against our Vinaya rules. We have, especially about our attainments in meditation and whatever the spiritual path we are on. We shouldn't be discussing this with anybody. So this is actually part of our Vinaya rules too. So as you can see from this teaching from Lord Buddha, any one of us, whether it's a layperson or whether it's a monastic, all right, when we are actually on the path, we have to be so humble, just as what we have recited just now in the Metta Sutta. We are humble, not conceited, right? Easy to support, right? All those qualities that we chanted in the Metta Sutta. It has to be followed. So these are the 8 qualities of a person, of a great person, the 8 qualities of a great person. So I'm not sure whether this word objectification is easily understood, because at first I didn't quite understand why it was translated into the word non-objectification. But I think if we look up the dictionary, it means that we don't actually belittle another person. We don't undermine them. We don't treat them like an object. We treat them as a human being with all the qualities of emotions and wisdom and compassion, all these kind of qualities that a human being should have. So that is probably the meaning of what this word non-objectification is all about. Yeah, because it sort of like makes sense if you compare it to the first word about self-aggrandizing, because normally when we self-aggrandize ourselves, we always put down others. So the important thing is not to show off to others that we're really good and great and whatever. Yeah. And because when we do that, usually we'll put down others. Yeah. So I think it makes sense to understand it in this form of description of the word non-objectification, meaning to treat a person as a person, not as an object, or someone who is really any lesser than us. So of course here about self-aggrandizing and about belittling others and all those things, I probably would like to refer to one of those teachings that Lord Buddha has mentioned in the 10 fetters of one who is an arahant, where one of the last fetters to become arahant is conceit. Conceit, okay? Conceit doesn't mean just our pride. It doesn't just mean being superior to others. The Buddha mentioned that conceit actually is threefold. It talks about being inferior, feeling that we are inferior to others. It talks about feeling of superiority over others, and it also talks about being equal to others. These three kind of states are actually under the label of conceit. I think it's called mana in Pali. The Buddha mentions that these are called conceit. Why? Most of the time we think that if I feel that I'm more superior to you, then we call it conceit, correct? But why is feeling inferior and feeling equal also is described as a form of conceit? So the explanation given is that when we are able to feel that we are inferior, it's a measurement. When we start to measure ourselves as inferior, one day if we are better than others, we will start to measure others as inferior and measure ourselves as superior. So that's discrimination. Even when we are able to say that, okay, you're equal, all right, it's another form of measurement. So when there's measurement, there's always discrimination. Yeah, we don't see things as arising from cause and conditions. We see things as a form of discrimination. So that's not really seeing things as they really are. And that's not called discernment. That's really judgmentalism or discrimination. Okay, so this is the reason why under the word conceit, right, these 3 factors are mentioned. All right, so of course, when it comes to aggrandizing oneself, it is very natural that we put down others. It always comes together. All right, so the Buddha further wants to go into detail about what he really means by those 8 qualities of a great person. So this is how he actually would start. Okay, now he was mentioning that this Dhamma is for one who is content, not for one who is discontent. And what does he mean? Here, the Buddha says that there is a case where a monk is content with any old robe cloth at all, any old alms food, any old lodging, any old medicinal requisites for curing sickness at all. This Dhamma is for one who is content and not for one who is discontent. Thus it was said. Okay. So again, being content with the 4 requisites, this is actually the Buddha addressing the monks. Okay, so of course the monks, like what we are experiencing right now, our dependence on others for our 4 requisites are something that we don't really have a choice over. But nowadays, I feel that as monastics, we are very blessed with a lot of good quality support that comes in from our supporters. But during the Buddha's time, at that time, there was no technology for communications or that. So whenever they move from place to place, it depends on the villagers or the lay practitioners who are nearby to support the what they call mendicants or the renouncants. And of course, during the Buddha's time, it was not only the Buddha's disciples, there were a lot of other practitioners in other sects, and they were all doing all this kind of alms collection and dependence on food and diet, the Jains and other practitioners of the Buddha's time. So the robes in the beginning, when the Buddha first started his order, the robes were actually just taken from the cloth that was used to bury, I won't call bury, is to wrap up the dead bodies. And the bodies were left at the cemetery, what they call the charnel grounds. So during the Buddha's time, the robes were actually made from the cloth that was collected from those dead bodies during the Buddha's time. But nowadays, I think our robes are very expensive nowadays. Yeah. So because of the quality of the cloth that people want to give, they want to make sure that the monks and nuns are given somewhat good quality materials to wear and all that. All right. So during the Buddha's time, life was so simple. Yeah. So this contentment, the Buddha actually refers to the contentment of what we use, the kind of shelter we have, and the food that we get, and also the medicine that we get. Yeah. So this is called contentment. But what about the lay people? How do we describe a life of contentment? Because every one of us have different lifestyle, right? Our needs are different. Sometimes due to our very what do you call personal kind of health issues, we may need to have special needs and all those special diets and all those things. So where do we draw the line? All right. So for me personally, I would feel that Ajahn Salas, just listen to your body. Don't just listen to the dietitian what you need to eat and all those things to get yourself healthy and all those things. Like some people say, oh, you need to take eggs every day. You need to take what they call yogurt every day. You need to take cheese and all those things, right? All these things are supposed to make you healthy. But many of us actually, as a monastic, we don't really ask for those things. It can be given, but we don't ask for those things. And also, like for me personally, I'm allergic to eggs. I can't take eggs. I don't have any what I call desire to take any cheese or anything like that. But I feel that my body is still relatively well. So it depends on your own body needs. You don't have to follow what others actually recommend, that you have to stay healthy, so you got to take this. Right? This is something that I found not really relevant, at least to myself. So I hope that all of you can actually just listen to your bodies and find out what you need, and not just listen to advertisements or what your friends or so-called dietitian says, you need to eat this so that you can stay healthy and all that. Unless you're sick. If you're sick and the doctor recommends something, then please, by all means, do follow. Yeah. But then whatever it is, the food shall not entail any kind of killing. I really I really do not believe that we should take the life of another being purposely for us to get well. All living beings should be cherished, just as what we have chanted in the Metta Sutta. With a boundless heart, one should cherish all living beings. We want to live, so do other living beings want to live too. So without intentional killing, if you need to take something good, without intentional killing, by all means, just do it. Yeah. Okay. Now, coming to this food area, in the forest monastery, you find that many monastics are taking animal products. They take meat, they take seafood, they take fish, right? Because in our Vinaya rules, the Buddha did mention in his teachings to others too, that there are 3 kinds of meat which the monastics can take. So the 3 kinds of meats are those that are not hurt by us, seen by us, or suspected by us to have been killed for our consumption. These are called the 3 purified meats. In Chinese, I think they call it the Sanjing Ro or something like that. Yeah. 3 conditions where the monastics can eat meat and seafood and all that. Yeah. But even in the forest monastery here, most of us are vegetarian by choice. As a layperson, we were vegetarian, and also perhaps it was a blessing that we are in Australia. We can't go out for alms around. We cannot go out for alms collection because here there's no culture for people to give us food into our alms. I mean, we did try before COVID actually strike us. So we did try to go into one of the towns nearby to our forest monastery, and we really couldn't get many people to support us because there's totally no culture here. Most of the Westerners here just say hello to us, give us a nice kind of dialogue, conversation, and all those things. And slowly, if some of them ask what can they do for us, then we can, because of the invitation, we can just tell them, we are here hoping to get some alms food, and we have to explain to them the meaning of all those things. So all these things are things that is not so I would say common to our period now, especially in the Western culture, right? So when the Buddha speaks about contentment, he's referring to these 4 things, right? So maybe as a layperson, you can also ask yourself, am I excessively indulging in these 4 areas? Okay. All right. So this is the part about contentment. Okay. Now the second part is about being reclusive. Okay. The Dhamma is for one who is reclusive, not for one who is entangled. Thus it was said. With reference to what was it said? There is the case where a monk, when living reclusively, is visited by monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, kings, royal ministers, sectarians, and their disciples. With his mind bent on seclusion, tending towards seclusion, inclined towards seclusion, aiming at seclusion, relishing renunciation, he converses with them only as much as is necessary for them to take their leave. This Dhamma is for one who is reclusive, not for one who is entangled. Thus it was said. Okay, so what is the meaning of this for us monastics? Now, for us, we are supposed to be forest monastics. But here I am talking to all of you in Singapore. Right, so how reclusive can I get? Right, so of course the Buddha says that, well, yes, we will be visited by all these people, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, and whoever, but we only speak what is necessary for Dhamma. And once that is enough, then we say bye-bye, take a leave. Okay, no idle talk. What idle talk means what the Buddha would describe as animal chatter, talking about politics, talking about things that's not going to lead us towards awakening. Okay, so this is what the Buddha says. We have to be reclusive. Now, of course, as Louis was asking me just now when I'm going back to Singapore. So I'm actually in the forest monastery here. I've been here for so many years and doing a lot of work, really very busy, and many things involved here, things that I didn't anticipate when I first came here. So I'm actually taking a sabbatical leave of 3 months in December this year. So I'll probably spend all the festive season in seclusion because I really do not wish to participate in all these festive seasons and all that. I think I have enough of all these kind of ceremonies and other celebrations here in Australia. So some of my nuns are actually asking, why don't I spend my seclusion, my what I call retreat here in Australia? Now, the reason is that we are going into Basa very soon, the rains retreat, which starts in 2nd August. We are going to spend 3 months of quietness and peace here during this time. The 3 months starts from 2nd August and ends on 29th of October. So each of us who is a monastic here will be given 2 weeks to spend in absolute seclusion, where even our food is sent to our kuti or to our room. Yeah, we are totally cut off from the people, from our visitors as well as the community here, just focusing on being alone and hopefully to have a journey inwards and not to be connected outwards. So we're going to spend Basa 3 months here. So for my going back to Singapore, as I was telling Louis just now, my going back to Singapore is just to be able to let go of this whole place, right? Let go of all this whole place and going to see whether I can adjust to life back in Singapore or not. I mean, I do have a so-called high-rise kuti in Singapore. I told Ajahn Brahma I have a high-rise kuti in Singapore, which is actually a single unit in McNair area. And it's actually quite quiet in there during the daytime. So I'm trying to see whether I can readjust my life back to Singapore these conditions, okay, and see whether I'm still able to focus my mind inwards while I'm back in Singapore. This is actually a kind of how to say, adapting to anicca as it comes, and hopefully I'm able to do it. So this is the reason why seclusion, whether it's in the city or in the forest, the mind has to be secluded, not only the body, the mind has to be secluded. So this is something that I really want to test out for myself, because as a layperson, I was also from Singapore. As a layperson, I was able to go into learning from our teachers from the Singapore temples, and then we were also encouraged to go into our own practice every day in meditation and all that. And I found that even in Singapore, there were good experiences. So I feel that instead of just hiding in the forest, I really want to test myself to see whether I can actually readjust back to the business of the Singapore lifestyle. But of course, as mentioned earlier in the Metta Sutta, we have to be unburdened with duties, because here in Newbury here, we have lots of duties. Yeah. So this is something that I really look forward to go into reclusiveness, not to be entangled. Okay, so this is the second part. Now, the other one is the Dhamma is for one whose persistence is aroused and not for one who is lazy. So with reference to what was it said? So the Buddha continues, this is the case where a monk keeps his persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful mental qualities and taking on skillful mental qualities. He is steadfast, solid in his efforts, not shirking his duties with regard to skillful mental qualities. And this Dhamma is for one whose persistence is aroused and not for one who is lazy. Okay, so again, this persistence is similar, what I call advice for whether monastics or lay, like the formation of Dhamma baths. I don't know what the conditions or the causes were, but it is something that arose from a very good what I call conditions and causes that perhaps all of you have come together to form the so-called organization called Dhamma baths. Right. So the persistence has to be aroused. The persistence has been aroused. You all have actually given this thought that you all want to go into the practice. That's why you all are organizing all these Dhamma talks by the various teachers, and also to continue this kind of learning without becoming lazy. So the Buddha was mentioning that persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful mental states of mind. So all these things refer to the Eightfold Path, where right effort is there. So right effort, of course, is again fourfold. Yeah. So the first two is to how to abandon all the unskillful thoughts that are arising, or to not let unskillful thoughts arise. The other two are the positive ones of developing skillful thoughts that have arisen, and also to let skillful and wholesome thoughts arise. So all these things are referring to the effort. So the Buddha has mentioned a monk who is steadfast and solid in his effort and not shirking his duties with regard to skillful mental qualities. Okay, so these are things that we have to gauge for ourselves. Only you yourself will know what kind of thoughts are arising in your mind, like even for us monastics. Okay, let's not talk about those monastics who can reach other people's mind. All right, let's put that aside. We should be able to be very, very honest and courageous to be able to know what kind of minds we have, and whether we are tending towards inclining towards laziness, or are we pushing ourselves too hard? All right, all these things we have to be aware. Okay, so don't push yourself too hard, because there's another sutta which the Buddha has taught. I think most of you may have heard it, about the string on the lute. If you really pull too long, pull too tight, it will break. If you if you fix it too lax, too loose, it won't give you any sound. So it's the same with our practice. We shouldn't actually push ourselves too hard until we'll break down one day and just give up Buddhism totally. We do see a lot of monastics actually disrobing. Most of them say, I want to get enlightened this lifetime, right? Very determined. But before this lifetime is over, they are already disrobed. So don't push yourself too hard. This is a gradual path, so give yourself time and a slow understanding, but of course not to be so slow until you're so lazy. So again, this is something that we have to gauge for ourselves. All right, go at your own pace. Don't compare. Go at your own pace. Just don't be lazy. But how do we know that we're not lazy? You will know. You will know. Okay, so this is something about persistence, being aroused and not being lazy. Okay, now the other one is Dhamma is for one whose mindfulness is established, and not for one whose mindfulness is confused. Mindfulness, all right? So this is a case where a monk who is mindful and endowed with excellent proficiency in mindfulness, able to remember and to call to mind things that were done and said long ago, or even recently. And this Dhamma is for one whose mindfulness is established, and not for one whose mindfulness is confused. Now, again, this mindfulness thing is, this mindfulness program, this mindfulness kind of what you call practice is so popular nowadays. There are many people teaching about mindfulness in schools, in I think in corporate organizations, everywhere you hear about mindfulness training and how to put mindfulness into our life and all that. Of course, it is very true that when one has mindfulness, it's going to help us a lot, not only in our spiritual practice, but also in our daily life, in our work, in our interaction with people. All aspects of life will benefit from this mindfulness. But again, this mindfulness has to be consistent. And the Buddha here mentions that mindfulness shouldn't be confused. So as we mentioned probably in the last lesson about right mindfulness, mindfulness has to come with clear awareness. Mindfulness is not enough. Just mindfulness itself is not enough. Mindfulness has to come with clear awareness. Clear awareness of what? Clear awareness of the things that we are actually experiencing, whether it's skillful or not skillful, whether it's wholesome or not wholesome. All these things has to be clear. Okay, and then with the clarity of what we are mindful about, then we can actually hopefully respond with a very appropriate kind of response. So mindfulness has to be there consistently. But I think that I have to admit that sometimes even as a monastic, because we are so busy with things coming to ask for attention in so many directions. Sometimes you may lose a little bit of mindfulness, like, just now when I was actually every Thursday we do have a Pali class also online, because Bhante Sunya from Bodhiana, who is the expert monk in Pali, is actually teaching a few of us from different monasteries in Australia our Pali language. All right. So while I was actually doing the Pali class and all those things, after finishing, there was this warning about there's going to be very high gusty winds coming in our forest area tonight. So because of that, we had to go into what I call the preparation to prevent our glass windows from shattering by fallen branches of trees being blown against our windows and all that. So we actually had to go up and put up some boards to prevent our windows from shattering, right? And of course, while I was doing that, I had my headlamp on because it was so dark outside. I had my headlamp on because of the inconsistent mindfulness in me, right? When I was actually getting my supporters and our fellow nuns to help us put up the boards, and while I was talking to them, my headlight was really shining into their eyes, and of course, that mindfulness was missing in me. I didn't see it immediately. So until they start to sort of like, put their palms in front of their eyes, then I realized, oops, my headlamp is actually shining right into their eyes. So then mindfulness was not there. So while we are busy and having to think of a lot of things, the mindfulness sometimes can be lost. So this I'm very, very open to admit that mindfulness, to be consistent, is something that needs to be trained. Yeah. Okay, so that's why when we are burdened with duties, sometimes mindfulness may be lost. But it will be so wonderful if we are actually very busy with a lot of things and still mindfulness is practiced at all times. Oh, that would be ideal. Okay, so all these things we have to really train ourselves up to. And also through experience, we probably will be better prepared next time. For instance, in my case, after the first experience of seeing that the volunteers were actually being blinded by my headlamp, I started to sort of like just cover my lamp with my palm when I was talking to them, so that mindfulness slowly crept in. Yeah. So all these things actually we have to be very aware, right? With the sati has to come with sampajana, right? Mindfulness must come with clear awareness, right? So to be consistent in mindfulness, right, is what the Buddha says to be established. Yep, it's something that we really need to train ourselves with. Okay, so this is the mindfulness test. So there are many areas of mindfulness that we can train ourselves with. I'm just quoting one example which I experienced just now. Okay, now the next one is Dhamma is for one whose mind is concentrated and not for one whose mind is unconcentrated. So this is a case where a monk quite secluded from sensuality, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first jhana. So again, Lord Buddha here describes the first jhana to the fourth jhana. I won't go into the description here. Okay, so this Dhamma is for one whose mind is concentrated and not for one whose mind is not concentrated. So again, when the mind is concentrated, it's not scattered. We will know for ourselves, especially when we sit in meditation. I think not many of us can say that we are able to just go into jhanas at will, because this is what our practice should lead us to. We can just go into jhanic stages anytime at will. But maybe sometimes some of us can get certain kind of experiences which is very close to stillness, or even went into stillness itself, and then only then you can really realize that there is this opportunity, there is always that possibility for our mind to really be very focused. So of course, the word here used is concentrated, as I mentioned earlier last week, that Ajahn Brahms prefer to call the word stillness of the mind. Okay, which I also prefer to use the word still, because when the mind is still, then you can actually we can actually experience that stillness there without any interference and all those things. So this is something that has to be experienced personally. Words can describe it, but you need to experience it yourself. All right. So in order to know whether our mind is concentrated or not, for any one of us who is really beginning in meditation practice, we will be quite clear about what is a scattered mind. When we actually sit down in meditation, even for the first 5 minutes, right, it is very normal. You can actually see your mind going in all directions, in the past, in the future, doing a lot of inner chatters, experiencing a lot of things, talking to yourself, all the inner chatters that is inside there. That is a scattered mind. There's no focus there. And then you try your very best to maybe practice your meditation on mindfulness of the breath, right? How long can you do that? I have been practicing for many years my meditation. I know what it's like when you are first untrained in focusing on the breath, right? Your mind just goes everywhere. The mind just goes everywhere. So you know very clearly that the mind is not still, the mind is not concentrated. Okay, so when the mind is really concentrated, you can really experience what the Buddha has described as, he actually says that because the first jhana actually is first followed by the first factors where you actually have the application of your thoughts, and then you also have the what they call the settling of your thoughts and all that. So what they call vitakka vichara and all that, the pulling, tugging of your mind, going outwards, pull it back, going outwards, pull it back. Yeah. And once you're able to sort of like settle your mind, focus your mind on your breath, okay, which is the most common exercise for meditation, then you feel that, okay, you actually are starting to feel the happiness, right? So they call it vitakka vichara. Then they have the piti. Piti is the joy coming in, right? So you can actually see your mind being concentrated. And then once you experience piti, then you go to another stage of happiness. They call it sukha, happiness. So piti and sukha, right? They are very closely linked, but it's a different kind of intensity of your mind being still, right? So the fifth one is when you have the one-pointedness, okay? What they call, I think, is ekaggata. The one-pointedness of the mind, where you really feel that your mind is really being united, not going up, united. Yeah, that's when you start to go into your first experience of being still in the mind. So all these things has to be experienced by us. So when our mind is really focused, okay, then you can experience all these things that the Buddha describes as the jhanic stages. All right, then this is why the Buddha has encouraged all of us, don't just go and do charities, don't just go and do Dhamma talks, don't just listen and all those things. Practice meditation. Try to still our minds. Same with us, monastics. The job for monastics, first and foremost, is to go into all these qualities of the mind, go into the inner peace of the mind and the heart, have all these good qualities of the mind and heart, go into the stillness, go into jhanic experiences. Yeah. As I mentioned last week too, the Ajahn Brahm always tell us, don't waste this lifetime as a human being. Try at least to go into stream entry. All right. So those of us who are on the path, we hope that we are on the path towards stream entry. All right. So for anyone who is able to go into the stillness of the mind, you can actually, I would say, you'll be quite committed to this path. Probably you won't give up. When you are when you have experienced certain experiences in your meditation meditation practices, I'm quite sure that once you have certain experiences that the mundane world can't understand, I'm quite sure that you'll be very committed to this life until your last breath. Yeah. So this I'm quite sure. Yeah. So meditation is very important. So instead of just organizing Dhamma talks and all that, I hope that one day you all can organize meditation sessions together where people come together, sit together. The energy from each other can support each other. That's why group practice is very important. Don't just listen to Dhamma. You have to practice what I call meditation. It's very important. Okay. So this is about the mind, which is concentrated and not for one who is not concentrated. And of course, the next one is the Dhamma is for one endowed with discernment, not for one whose discernment is weak. Now, with reference to what was it said, the Buddha then told the monks, this is the case where a monk is endowed with discernment of arising and passing away, noble penetrating, leading to the right ending of stress. This Dhamma is for one endowed with discernment, not for one whose discernment is weak. So, of course, here the Buddha is actually referring to causes and conditions arising and passing away, causes and conditions. So maybe you can also refer to it as the paticca samuppada, the 12 links. And also he's also referring to the penetrating, the noble penetrating, leading to the right ending of stress, meaning we have to understand the Four Noble Truths, right? Through right understanding, through abandoning, to practice, to realization, all these things we have to understand. And also knowing that all phenomena are due to causes and conditions. Also knowing that this whole world is actually just impressions through our six sense bases. Okay, and also understanding that the characteristic of this world is actually impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and also non-self. Non-self is something that cannot be controlled. Okay, it's all arising because of causes and conditions. So all these things are what we call discerning, what will lead us towards awakening. Okay, so this is very important. So that's why learning the Dhamma, we have to be able to really slowly train ourselves towards being discerning and not just going for likes and dislikes and with other kind of emotional attachments and indulgences. So discernment is very important. Discernment is always coming from one who really has the spiritual wisdom, not with mundane knowledge. I mean, mundane wisdom is also very important for us to live in this world, but for discernment towards awakening, one needs to have the spiritual wisdom which the Lord Buddha describes as knowing the truth about the nature of where we live. Okay, knowing what this whole body is all about, our sense spaces and all that, what this world is all about. All right, so this is what the Buddha is referring to here about one endowed with discernment. Okay, now the other one is one who enjoys non-objectification. What is it referring to? This is a case where a monk's mind leaps up, grows confident, steadfast, and firm in the cessation of objectification. So this Dhamma is for one who enjoys non-objectification and who delights in who delights in non-objectification. Okay, so again, I was mentioning that non-objectification is where a monk's mind lifts up, grows confident, steadfast, and firm in cessation of objectification, meaning that his mind is not distracted by things that is not wholesome. His mind is actually just more engaged with not seeing a person as a person, but rather as four elements, body, nama rupa, form and mind, and then what is the form made up of, what is the mind made up of, and why are all these phenomena arising, why are all these changes arising, all these things. Okay, so this is how he will stop his mind from chasing after things according to the notion of self, a notion of wrong views. Okay, all these things are there. So this is briefly what the Buddha has described as the thoughts, the 8 thoughts of a great person. Okay, so as it was said, in reference to this, it was said the Buddha actually after encouraging Anuruddha to stay there in the Chitta forest for his reigns, he actually did that. And when he actually spent his time, now I'm coming back to Anuruddha, who is in the forest in the Chettis. He actually was there, and then he actually just went through his practice, okay, and then at the end of that secluded period of time, he actually became enlightened, and he knows that what this is another stock phrase of those who have become enlightened. Birth is ended, the holy life is fulfilled, the task is done, there's nothing further for the sake of this world. And thus, Venerable Anuruddha became another one of the Arahants. Yeah. So, having the 8 thoughts of a great man will lead us towards right practice to complete the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, so this is what this whole sutta is all about. How do we walk the Noble Eightfold Path? We must think like a great man, the 8 qualities of the mind. All right, so this is briefly an introduction to this teaching. I rarely hear venerables mention this teaching, really. I was very happy that I sort of like stumbled across it while I was reading another sutta. So just thought that I'll share with all of you because I feel that it's very important. Yeah. So before I forget, I really hope that I can give you more references for self-reading. Besides what I've just covered, these 2 lessons, I thought that maybe these 2 suttas will be very important for self-reading for you to also understand how we should come to listen to the Dhamma. Do we have this kind of obstructions to come and listen to the Dhamma and practice it? So there are these 2 suttas which I also have found while I was reading other suttas. The first one is the what I call 6 qualities of one to enter the path. And this is found in Anguttara Nikaya 6.86. 6.86 Anguttara Nikaya. It is called the Avarana Sutta. In English, it's called obstructions. So it speaks about how any of us can be obstructed to come to listen to the Dhamma and how we can be obstructed about understanding all that. So I thought that is a good sutta for us to really go through. Yeah, so that is for your self-reading. The second one is found in the Sutta Nipata, is also speaks about almost the same thing. It's called Kimsala Sutta. It's under the Sutta Nipata. Sutta Nipata 2.9. They are short suttas, but very meaningful. We can just see whether we can actually overcome all these obstructions or not. Okay, so it's Sutta Nipata 2.9. It's called Kimsala Sutta. In English, it's called What Morality. These 2 suttas. Okay, so this sutta talks about coming to the Dhamma with right karmic background and right attitude. Yeah, something that we can see for ourselves, whether we do have all these conditions or not. Because, through experience, actually, today we were talking to some of our devotees who actually come here, and during our interaction with whether monastic solitude, there are certain people who actually are supposed to be in the Dhamma, right? But somehow they are very fault finding, and if you don't do things according to the way, they just become very unhappy and tend to spread the energy of unhappiness to people around them. Yeah, so we were talking about this kind of Dhamma practitioners, right? And they also consider themselves as Dhamma protectors. They do consider themselves as Dhamma protectors, but still very critical of a lot of things that other people are doing, whether it's monastics or lay. So these are things that I hope that for me, I really hope that I can really see for myself whether I fall under the trap of Mara, or am I really on the path towards Buddhahood, or I would call awakening. Okay, so all these things are there right in front of us for us to see, and this is the reason why I say, even when you're actually listening to Dhamma through online and all those things through technology, it's good to actually get together to support each other when you actually experience certain things in life that you feel is not very pleasant, and how we can actually apply Dhamma into these kind of situations. Yeah. So I think it's already 10:50. Maybe I'll just leave some time for questions if you have any. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. I think we have some question from last week. Yeah, so we clear the last week one first.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question is, may I ask, Venerable, what is the key mark of existence?
The key mark of existence.
Yes.
Key,
Yes.
key,
The
The
three
key
marks
Three
of
marks of existence.
the three or key?
three.
Three.
The three marks of
Three.
existence. Are you talking about the T Lakana?
Yes, that one.
The
Yes.
three characteristics of existence,
Yes,
of
yes.
nature.
The
Yeah.
tilakana,
So,
yes.
yeah, Tilakana, that means it's the impermanence, dukkha, anicca,
Yes,
dukkha,
that-
anatta. Are you
Yes, yes.
referring to this?
Yes, I would
That
say
one.
Anicca,
yes.
dukkha, anatta. Yeah, that's the three marks. So, do you want to just go into a little bit of explanation? Anicca, impermanence, right? I'm quite sure you see a lot of impermanence in our life every day. Let's not talk about others, talk about ourselves, our mind, our own mind. Maybe let's say breakfast. Probably when you are preparing breakfast, you say, okay, I probably will have some bread. And then you see jam. Okay, maybe I'll put some jam. Or then maybe your eyes land on something else. Maybe that is better. I will probably put that instead of jam. Then after that, you may take a bite and say, it's not nice enough. Maybe I'll take something else. All these things are very, very gross kind of impermanence happening to us, right? Now, the other subtle impermanence that happens to us is, take yourself right now. How do I look right now compared to when I was a little baby, slowly growing up? Can you see the whole process of impermanence coming up? These are all very gross that we can see. So impermanence of things that we can actually see as in the form, and then the impermanence of those that we cannot see, but we can actually feel. Okay, and also for those that is in our mind, our views of things, our opinions of things. We are always changing. Impermanence comes in so many aspects, from the very gross to the very subtle. It is happening to us every day. Every day. I'm not sure whether this is good enough for you to understand, because impermanence is something that's changing. The Buddha asked the disciples, if anything that's changing, and also because of the changes, it gives us a lot of unhappiness, right? Okay, most of the time, even if it gives us happiness, it is very short-lived. Anything that changes that happy state of mind will eventually lead to unhappiness. It's always coming like this: happiness, unhappiness, unhappiness, happiness. Yeah, it's always just the flux of all these kind of changes will take place, right? That's why the Buddha described it as unsatisfactoriness is called dukkha. But actually, according to what our teacher has mentioned, dukkha actually is not just suffering. It's not really just suffering. The word suffering is something that a lot of people understand. But the changes is something that brings unsatisfactoriness into our life. That's called the dukkha. Okay. Then the anatta is non-self. So what is called non-self? So the Buddha says that if something that is changing all the time and causing us unhappiness, can you say that it belongs to you? Are you able to say that you own that? Do you really own that? Okay, let's take our body again. As you were born as a little baby, now at what age are we? Just look at the difference. Are you able to come to one stage of life where you find that, oh, this is the best stage of my life. I want it to remain like this forever. It's impossible, right? Your body, the Buddha says, is a source of danger, a source of affliction, a source of what they call suffering. Can you tell your body not to do this, not to do that? Yeah, you can go for beauty, beauty facial, or whatever programs or whatever you call that. Yeah. But you cannot stop it from getting old. You cannot stop it from getting sick. You can't. All these things happen right in front of us. So the Buddha was asking the disciples, anything that's changing, anything that's changing and causing us unhappiness, can you say you own them? Do we own our body? We think we do. But actually, we cannot tell our body, don't do this, don't do that, or please be like this, or please be like that. It's impossible. We think we can, but actually it's due to causes and conditions that make us feel that we can control the body. Okay, I'm sick, I go to the doctor, I get better. That's due to causes and conditions. It's not because I can actually will it to happen like that. Sometimes you go to the doctor may not be there. Sometimes you go to a doctor, the doctor may give you some medicine which may or may not help you to overcome immediately. Yeah. So you see, we do have experiences of young doctors who actually almost want to give up practicing as a doctor. I'm not sure whether we have any doctors among us here right now. We do have doctors coming to our monastery, so many of them. Some are experienced, some are very young, some are just learning what their internship and all that. The experience of them having to face the patients, especially those who are working in hospital, the experience of them having to face those patients in hospital and knowing that they are not able to help the patients recover, seeing the patients die right in front of them, right? That feeling of helplessness is so overwhelming for some of our young doctors. They almost want to give up. Yeah. So this is something that even doctors cannot control. You cannot control your patients from dying or not getting better. And there's so many factors involved in how a person's life is extended or not. Like Anuruddha, 150 years old. I mean, we have seen people living up to 100 years old. We have many elderly devotees here who are 80-something years old. It's just that today somebody gave us dana. He said that his mother-in-law prepared the food. How old is the mother-in-law? 87 years old. Prepared the food for all the monastics here and the 8 preceptors here. 87 years old. So you think the doctor can help us to be 87 years old and still doing what this lady is doing this morning? It's impossible. It all depends on so many factors. So that's why it's called anatta. That's why it's called anatta. So if we cannot accept anicca and anatta from happening to us anytime, we will have a lot of dukkha. We will have a lot of dukkha. Okay? But if we can slowly accept that, okay, whatever happens, yes, changes has taken place. Changes that is not pleasant has taken place. There's no way I can control it, but due to causes, conditions, it is only very natural for us to look for a way out of our suffering. It's only natural. No one wants to be caught and trapped in suffering, right? So we will just do our best to find a way out of suffering. It's just like for us, okay, we see many people come here saying that they are afflicted with cancer. Some of them try their very best to see whether they want to go through chemo or not, and all those things, right? Even as monastics, what can we say? What can we do? We will only encourage them to, please use your Dhamma. This body is not something that we can control. All of us, whether we are monastic or lay, we are very likely to get into sickness one day. When we are sick, we can just go to the doctor and ask for guidance, for medication, for whatever advice they give us, and we try our best to get ourselves better. But it doesn't mean that we'll get better. Most of us will die. We only hope that we won't die with so much suffering. That's all. Yeah. So there are some people who really suffer a lot, in great pain. As monastics, we feel so helpless, but because they do have this Dhamma in them, it helps them to look at suffering as a natural course in life. So then it helps them to be sort of like more mentally more balanced, more accepting. If we keep on fighting against the unhappiness that's happening in our life, I tell you, we're going to suffer a lot. That's why a lot of people go into what I call depression. They just can't handle it because they are hoping that things should work out this way as I hope it to be. But a lot of times things just don't work out the way we hope it will. It just doesn't happen that way. So it's all causes and conditions. And a lot of times it's also our karmic affinity with certain things. Our karma also has an important role to play in certain things that's happening. We cannot say that we want to leave everything in the hands of karma. That's also very what we call fatalistic. It's not right. Whatever karma we have, right, whether good or bad, yes, we are the heir. But we can change our karma by doing wholesome things to cushion the results of unwholesome karma that we have done. Yeah. So again, I'm not sure whether I've said this to you or some other people, where people ask, are we able to sort of like dissolve our bad karma? This, or maybe won't let it happen. Okay, the only way that we don't need to experience our bad karma is when we go into arahanthood. Okay, that definitely is not very easy for most of us. So the Buddha has mentioned the teaching called the simile of the salt. I'm not sure whether you have heard this simile, where the Buddha says that there's this bad karma which we have done, right? Maybe just a small amount of bad karma. So he refers to it as a spoonful of salt. Let's just say a teaspoonful of salt. A teaspoonful of salt, and then most of us, we have done good and bad karma. I mean, most of us who are on the path probably have done more good karma than bad karma. So let's say that our karma is equivalent to a teaspoon of salt. And then we have a cup of good karma, a cup of good water, good karma. 1 teaspoon of salt into a small cup of water. Can we still taste the saltishness? Yes, we can. Yep, that's what the Buddha asked the disciples. If you put a little teaspoon of salt into the water, the small cup, you can still taste the saltishness. So you can still feel the effects of your results of the past karma. Then the Buddha further gave the simile. Similarly, you have this teaspoon of salt. What if you put this teaspoon of salt into a big lake of water? Can you taste the saltishness? No, Lord Buddha, we can't. So this is how many of us we actually cushion our bad karma with our good karma. It's not that the bad karma didn't happen. It happened, right? But because we have done so much good karma, the good karma actually cushions the bad karma when it's happening, and we don't know, right? So again, like for us monastics, some people will come to us to say that I've done so many things to support the Sangha. I've done so much to contribute towards building monasteries, to doing a lot of good deeds and a lot of things. Why is this thing still happening to me? The unfortunate things happening in life. Okay. They are still asking all these questions. It doesn't mean that when we do a lot of good deeds, unhappiness won't follow. It will still happen to us because our life has so much conditions there that the Buddha actually told us that we shouldn't even dwell on the possibility of understanding karma fully. He says we'll go mad. So whatever we know that is within our control, with control in inverted commas, right, is all due to causes and conditions anyway. We try our very best to use our wisdom, all right, to get out of all the situations that is not pleasant. And for situations that we are very happy in, try not to really get too how to say immersed in it, because once this happiness is gone, then what are we going to do? Right. So at the end of the lesson, I'm going to talk about the 8 worldly winds. This is something that we really have to see for ourselves. Am I really progressing on the path of Dhamma or not? If we are able to have those kind of understanding and acceptance of life according to the teachings of Lord Buddha, then we can say that yes, whether something is changing, or anicca, dukkha, anatta, if it happens to us, we will just see it as causes and conditions arising and ceasing, which was covered just now in our lesson 2. Yeah. So something that is for us to investigate, it is a good question, really, the tilakkhana. This is so important for us to live a life of peace and acceptance and harmony. Otherwise, we'll be anything that is not according to our wishes, we'll be like very unhappy, and anyone who doesn't listen to us will become very angry and all those things. Yeah. A lot of times our emotions do come up. We are aware of it, and then we know why it comes up. But at the same time, we have to know that, okay, the conditions arose because of all these reasons. No, whatever I'm going to do, I don't want to add to more suffering to myself or to others. So that's why we need to have a very appropriate response and not to have a reactive, what is the word to use? It's not a response, it's just a reaction. Yeah, instead of just reacting, we need to really have a very wise response. So all these things have to do with understanding and accepting that the tilakkhana is there every day in our life. Anything can just happen. That's why we always, now that we are in the monastery and learning about Dhamma and experiencing a lot of changes in our life and all those things, many of us just jokingly tell people, it's anicca happening, it's anatta, don't try to experience too much dukkha. Yeah. Then we try to encourage each other, support each other. And life won't be that unpleasant. Yeah. Until we see the cause and effect, until we see the whole truth, the whole noble truth, until we see everything with right view, right understanding, until we can accept that everything is causes, conditions, definitely we are going to have a lot of dukkha, hopefully in small doses. Yeah. Okay. But I hope that we can bounce back very quickly. Yeah. I do have, this experience where one Dhamma supporter who has been supporting us building, to raise funds to build this monastery here. When we first built Newbury Buddhist Monastery, a lot of Singaporeans actually came to help us, and they continue to help us raise funds in Singapore and send over here. Very dedicated, very committed, okay? Very committed. Suddenly she went for a tour and came back, and she was, I do not know the medical term for it, but she actually was suffering from what they call the flesh-eating bacteria. Within 3 days, she has to amputate her little finger. Within 3 days, she had to go through 3 operations. It was so sudden. We were all so shocked. But because of the Dhamma in her, she was able to accept and just give the doctor the permission to just do what is necessary. Even as the monastic, we were so shocked. She was all right. Coming back from a tour, within 3 days, she went through 3 operations, and very painful operations. Yeah. How many of us can take it? How many of us can take it? But because she was in Dhamma for so long, she was able to bounce back very quickly. Yeah. incredible what Dhamma can help us, how Dhamma can help us. By accepting anicca, anatta, then we have less dukkha. Yeah. Is that good enough for you? Whoever asked that question?